I think we should be better about opening the show with some typical housekeeping stuff. I'm just gonna say it.
Okay. So
You know what I
like,
mean?
so there's a common idea that's like an old wives' tale kind of thing of like cleaning your windows with newspaper so it won't leave streaks. But
Yes.
there's many things that won't leave streaks for your windows. Is that like the kind of housekeeping?
I was thinking that, and then also like lemon and club soda if you get blood on something. Do you have any?
Yeah.
Why is your go-to the blood?
Rate and
I have
subscribe
blood on everything.
the podcasts you listen to.
Oh yeah, that's what I actually meant. I forgot. We got to the bit, and I
that's
forgot.
fine. That's fine.
Yeah, so if you like Funbearable, tell a friend, share it on your social media, share the YouTube link, and please rate and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get podcasts.
Leave
YouTube.
graffiti in your favorite public bathroom.
Yes.
For a good time. Listen
Yes.
to Funbearable. It's a podcast.
Or leave that graffiti in other people's private bathrooms.
That's
Yes.
true. Yeah.
And I'll say this: we try to do 3 clips from each podcast every week. It's usually like Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, or something. Share them if you can. Retweet them, share them on Facebook, share them to your stories. All that stuff is really helpful. We're trying to grow the audience. We got some fun stuff coming up.
Yeah.
And also for the Fun Bears who've been in it for a while, man, we are taking the holidays seriously again, as we do.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when we started, we just I think we started at the end of August, so. It just made us.
It just happened.
It just happened, and
Yeah.
now that's the thing.
And we were still in the honeymoon phase. You know what I
Yes.
mean? We were still excited about those
There was
things.
very little resentment. I mean, it was growing.
But I will say, so we got
growing.
together because we care about what we're doing a lot. So we actually got together. We planned our Halloween stuff, Thanksgiving, all the Christmas stuff, and I'm fucking excited for the stuff we have coming up.
Oh,
man.
sure. I think we put the kind of effort in that newly divorced parents put in for the holidays. Does that make sense?
Too.
Yeah. Like really no, let's do this. Absolutely. And I'm going to meet the energy that you're bringing and try and do a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we're all doing that, which is good.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. No, I like that.
We're going to get the third and some say final story about Gibby, the Thanksgiving ghoul for Thanksgiving.
And it's funny.
I've heard it.
You want to hear a funny thing?
I'll say this. When the credits roll, it's pretty definitively over.
Wow. Well,
That's one of the reviews we got for the podcast.
and for people
It
who
was
are
the opening credits.
for people who are kind of just have joined the show recently, what we do for Thanksgiving is we created our own Thanksgiving mascot named Gibby the Ghoul.
Don't include me in the creation of it. You two had Gibby the Thanksgiving something else, and then it became Gibby the Ghoul.
Well, it was so when Brad and I had our podcast,
we don't have to relitigate it.
I'm just saying we had a different character named Gibby the Thanksgiving Goblin, and Ray said, "I don't want to bring Gibby the Thanksgiving Goblin to Funbearable," but he kind of said it in a way that's like, "Could you just tweak it a little?"
He was being very coy about it.
Yeah.
Very coquettish, and so we brought in Gibby the Thanksgiving Ghoul in year 1. I mostly wrote the story, and Brad helped. And then
you could tell.
And we decided that we would rotate. So year 2
It was written in crayon.
but then there was corrections in red pen.
I would say there did need to be a little bit of editing at the end because we had to take out so many sex scenes.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Well, we wanted it to be R-rated.
It was crazy. There were moments where it was like Gibby would round the corner and he'd be like, "Whoa, 1998, Sarah Michelle Gellar is here," and it's like, what is this even?
But so
okay, I'll sleep with you, Sarah, but you have to call me Chuck while we do it. And,
and she said, "I always do."
yeah.
But
now,
so
you've spiked so many people. It's your turn to get spiked.
so
She should have been saying it. Not
so
the other
year
person,
1 was
not Gibby.
was mostly me and a little Brad.
Yeah.
So then we decided we'd rotate it. So that year 2 was Ray, which has been released, and year 3 is Brad, and he's already written the Thanksgiving script.
Which I say bravo for writing that script, because I think after the second year, it's like, well, we can't possibly go up from here. You know what I mean?
I don't want to do.
And we started with we can't possibly go down from here.
So Brad just said that Gibby might have a definitive end.
Yeah.
But all I'm going to say is, fuck you. And the 4th title is A Tale of Two Gibbies.
Oh, you're just gonna you know what you're gonna do?
The goblin's coming
You're gonna
back.
do You're gonna do the lazy Disney thing, and you're gonna be like, "There's a multiverse, and there's another Gibby. Nothing will ever die, nothing will ever end, and IP will always exist."
I would never do a lazy Disney thing. I'm gonna do Friday the 13th, Part 8, where the pole goes into the chest, and the lightning hits it, and Gibby is back, baby.
I was gonna do Friday the 13th, or no, not Friday the 13th. Sorry, Nightmare on Elm Street. Is it 2?
Where the dog pisses fire.
It's the opening of 4.
Yeah, no, 2 isn't 2. The boy is the last girl, and he is
He's
being
gay.
like
It's 2. It's 2.
yeah, and he's being like possessed by Freddy in some way, shape, or form, and that's very much what it's going to be. Like Gibby will possess someone else.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that would be interesting.
A lot of ideas here. Good thing this year's already written.
This is ideas, multiple creative ideas over something that is so bad. It's just so awful and bad.
There's nothing bad about it. And
I've
it's
engaged
excellent.
with it. I wrote a thing. I did it already, but I have to recognize Gibby, separate from actual input from any of the three of us,
Wow.
is just a bad thing.
But that's how I think that's how
Gibby's
most.
pretty gross.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I think a lot of things are bad. If you take out the surroundings, like Michael Myers is just a faceless killer, and then you tell a story. You
Okay,
can bring him in. That's
sure.
that's fair. Jason Voorhees. Why am I really?
Yeah, why are you all the
Freddy Krueger.
slashers? It's just all
Chucky the
slashers.
doll.
Pivoting.
John Wayne Gacy.
Pivoting slightly.
The Strangers.
Yeah, when you take it out of context, sure, the guy dressed like a clown and killed a bunch of people. But it's the story.
Pivoting slightly. It is interesting to think about all the ways in popular films that characters have been resurrected. That's a funny list of things.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because you mentioned multiverse first, then
Yeah.
you could just find someone else, and then I mentioned Jason. But like the way that Chucky they possessed the Chucky doll.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it is funny to think about the idea.
There's
of,
so many.
That's
things.
really
so many things.
That's a real
Yeah.
funny one.
I just think it's like, the Disney side of it, and like the Disney Marvel. Mm-hmm. The product that is, and there are some great movies and there are some not great movies, whatever. But it is a bummer where it's like, as soon as you've introduced this thing of the multiverse and there being multiple versions, it is like, hey, by the way, whenever you want,
Well,
you can bring somebody back, you can make a different one, you could do whatever you want.
I will say this about the multiverse thing. People have used that as kind of like some big director recently was like, "Oh, multiverse is like the death of story, blah blah blah." And I think that that's kind of a lazy way to look at it, because I think what actually happens is when you introduce stuff like that, you can use it really lazily or you cannot.
Oh, sure, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, you know what else is equally lazy? Time travel. Time travel is just as lazy as multiverse, but you can make Back to the Future and make a great story where you say, well, here are the constraints.
Sure.
Here's this. Here's
No,
this.
I get that.
You know what I mean? I think it's kind of the same.
I think when you look at it, fairly cynically, the idea of the multiverse and what it means for the company to be able to just plug and play. I'm not saying all multiverse stories are bad.
Yeah.
At all, or lazy.
Right.
I think Deadpool and Wolverine does it in a fun way.
Everything
But that's
Everywhere All at Once.
I was just going to say that one, but
Yeah.
let me finish my thought about the Deadpool thing. That is different too, though, because it's like such a comedy that breaks the fourth wall so much.
It's a commentary on it too.
Yeah, so it kind of plays into that idea.
right.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is trying to tell a very personal story within it, and that's great.
Yeah.
When it gets to that cold detachment of just a company owning IP, that's when it starts to turn like, oh, all right.
It could, except they haven't done that. You know what I mean? That's the thing, is it hasn't happened.
It could be argued that we're seeing the signs of it starting, but that's a whole different discussion that I don't want to have on this podcast.
Yeah.
B, don't want to have with you in general, because I'm cynical about this stuff, and you are the biggest Marvel apologist
no way.
I've ever known in my life.
No way.
I
No
think,
way.
that's fine.
I think Chuck is excited about everything.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I don't think so, because there's a lot of stuff that you could bring up that I'm not.
Yeah, like
Very,
Chuck hates the movies with strong female characters.
Well,
that is
famously,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
not limited to Marvel.
No.
Shang-Chi's not a
movie.
female, but
Oh, you said there were other reasons why you did like that. No, but anyway.
no, real quick though.
Okay.
I will say, like, In terms of like the idea of, because people are basically like, oh, you can just be like, the Hulk is dead, but we found a Hulk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As of right now, they haven't done anything like that, and I trust them that they won't do something as simple as that.
I hope they don't.
Yeah.
There's stuff that's weird. I don't want to get into it. My opinion on that does not need to be shared now. The other side of that too is I just had a more cogent thought here, and it completely went away.
How about I open the podcast?
I guess, but I'm just going to be thinking about this. But yeah, you go ahead, and maybe I'll think of it.
Use it to think.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Funbearable podcast. My name is Brad Rohr.
I'm Ray Lost in Thought Harrington.
Don't ever cut me off. So I'm Ray. I thought of the thing Harrington, and now I'm thinking of it, and I don't like the way my mind has been working today. It's unsettling. Who are you?
I'm Charles Dayton.
There you go. It's Star Wars. That was what I was thinking of when they brought back Palpatine for like no reason, and you're just like, okay. What was reverberating in my mind in the discussion we were just having is the line, no one's ever really gone, right? And Red Letter Media just did a whole thing with that about the return of Palpatine, and it's just the line, no one ever really dies, over and over and over, and it's just it's that thought in my head.
Why were they talking about Palpatine? This from the ninth
Star
one?
Wars, yeah, because they brought him back.
I don't get me started on that.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to talk about any of this stuff.
That was one of the last Chuck and Brad episodes with Ray.
Yeah.
Where
that was the last time I like earnestly dove into one of these discussions, and it was 2 hours of me putting it on trial.
We planned on a 2-hour episode, and it became an almost 4-hour episode.
Yeah. Apologies to that. That should have been the sign that we shouldn't do this.
Yeah. I like talking about this stuff. I think we can have spirited discussions.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of stuff that has disappointed me.
Sure.
Including all the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a bum out, because I was kind of psyched about some of it for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there's some stuff that is good, and there's other stuff. I don't know. This is
one of the things I want to see is consequences. And
Sure.
so with the idea of like, all right, in the Funbearable movie, Brad died of old age. And then they're like, we brought back Brad from a different universe, and he's mostly the same, almost as old. And but there's no consequence, so there's no reason for, our Chuck and Ray characters to change.
Yeah.
So the idea of faking out, this person wasn't really dead, or they're being brought back to life, or whatever, it cheapens story.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I completely agree, and I mean, the Palpatine thing is killed me inside.
Yeah,
I couldn't even believe that it was true.
It killed Ray outside.
I know. I think it's okay to talk about stuff. I mean, I think that right now it's hard to would it be hard to talk about Palpatine in 2024, because it's like, what are we talking about?
Right.
But I like this kind of spirited discussion about big story, and I think that there's
Sure.
a lot of fun to be had. But I know you're not really a big fan of it.
Well, no, I'm a fan of doing it. I'm just not a fan of making it content, I guess, because I don't know if that's
fine.
what we want to do, then we could do we would just start a podcast called we're going to talk about that stuff. And you know what it is?
Well, that's why I'm doing it with Ruppert.
Yeah.
Because we like to do it.
No, I get that.
No,
I understand.
No, I get it. I completely understand. I mean, that's what we said. I'm sure you didn't listen to the episode, but I was like,
I'm sure you didn't listen to the episode.
It was 3 hours long. It was ridiculous.
Sure.
So I was like, I said on the episode, because he does Reviewing History, which is his podcast, which is essentially they compare factual, movies to actual historical events, and they kind of see what has changed and what was real. And on Funbearable, we do talk about pop culture, but we talk about it a lot more in a sense of kind of putting our own spin on stuff, writing our own stuff, coming up with creative ideas. And I'm like, both of those things are elevated from talking about the real thing that exists. So I kind of think that if we want to do that as a part of our side thing, that's fun. I think that's cool.
Of course.
I mean, I think it's just a fun thing. It's the same thing as me and Brad streaming on Twitch or a video game.
The reason I struggle with just giving into just talking about a movie that came out or a big IP thing, and just having a conversation about it. The thing I struggle with there is because I know that there are so many things that just do that already. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
It's just it's ubiquitous. It's almost like part and parcel with the thing now. So like
completely
with
agree.
the product comes a product that just talks about the product, and it's fucking insane.
Yeah, the churn.
Yeah, it's like a constant echo chamber, and it drives me nuts.
Do you wanna
So I try
hear-
and detach myself.
Do you want to hear a story that drove me nuts that took place at a regional Comic Con?
Yes, but before you
Oh.
say that, I just want to make one more point about
Yep.
that. It went away again. I can't think. My thoughts are like I have it, and then it goes away if I get sidetracked or interrupted. And
But it
it's
might come
fucking with
back.
me so much
They're
today.
the Palpatine of thoughts.
Sure.
I hope it's not that bad.
Yes. So Chuck and I went to Contropolis, New Jersey, several weeks ago. Really nice time. Rick and Morty panel, Avatar panel with Mick Foley and Michaela Jill Mostly.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. And so we're walking around the show floor with our friends Jimmy and Michelle.
Yes.
And Chuck gets stopped by someone. And I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be Chuck's ego getting fed here.
Okay, so basically, I was stopped by this guy, right? And he had his own booth, and he was a cartoonist. Seemed like a really nice guy.
Yeah.
And Brad was like, continuing on, whatever. And the guy says to me, he's like, hey, he's like, you have that podcast, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, you put up all those really funny clips, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, in Rhode Island? And I'm like, yes, like Funbearable. He's like, oh, yeah, blah, blah. And this is a cartoonist from Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And we had a little bit of a talk back and forth. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? This is actually the week of our show. And I remember saying, like, oh, we have a show coming up on Sunday. Mm-hmm. So I go to Brad, and I say, that guy's a fun bear. That guy that just stopped me is a fun bear.
Yeah.
And so Brad...
We walk around for another hour. I think I did the second panel, and we're walking around again, and I'm like, you know what? I'll go say hi to this guy as well. It's nice to meet a fun bear in the wild.
Yeah.
So I walk up to him, same guy behind the table. I'm like, hey, Chucky told me you're a fun bear. And he's like, a fun bear? And I'm like, like that you listen to the podcast? He's like, the podcast? I'm like, I'm Brad from Funbearable. And it was like...
Oh man.
This guy did, and so like I stumbled through some and I'm like I'm committed. I have to finish this conversation with this guy.
By the end, you're holding your phone, playing an episode. Like, no, see, that's because that's what we're doing. Yeah.
It was, and I'm that one. Not that one. And so I'm trying to just get through to this guy that I'm not insane. That I'm like, yeah, Chuck sent me over here. I probably mentioned it like 4 times.
Yeah. You look back over where he was. Chuck's gone.
And I went back over.
Gravestone.
And my letter jacket is on top of it. I went back and I'm like, that wasn't funny, Chuck.
He thought I tricked him.
Yeah.
He thought I said to him, hey, that guy's a fun bear, as a prank to make Brad go over and embarrass himself in front of a stranger.
Yeah.
Because I did embarrass myself and then I'm like, was it the same guy? and I had communicated. I'm like, oh, so do you do this comic strip? He's like, yeah, I'm syndicated in all these newspapers. And I'm like, it's the same number that Chuck had given me. And I'm like, what is going on? Why does he just know Chuck?
That's amazing. Yeah.
It
is like just in terms of like, etiquette or social interaction, the idea of being wrong about that, and you're introducing yourself to that person, essentially going like, not do you know who I am? Like I'm somebody, literally being like, you know who I am, right? Like, and that's
because he had expressed
it's so
to Chuck,
harsh.
But I didn't do anything.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
It's. I'm still a little unconvinced, but.
How did I have the numbers?
I don't know. I walked over there and I went through the whole thing and I probably 2 lines in I was like, I need to bail, but socially I can't, and so I stuck with it for 2 minutes and then I'm like, all right, well I'm gonna get going. We got things to do, but yeah, hope you can Funbearable. Like I had no idea what I was saying. So if you were watching or listening, sir, sorry about that. And there's more than just Chuck on this podcast.
I think you should check in on the comic strip because I bet this interaction exists in it for sure.
Oh, no!
Yeah, everybody was talking about that one where Ziggy meant that really arrogant guy.
Ziggy! No, it was John Arbuckle.
Yeah. Oh, he met that arrogant son of a bitch.
I think I told him. That's what I'm trying to find right now. I think I've told him.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
On my side, and you know what? Like, I've had interactions with people that don't go well, to put it mildly.
Sure.
And this one, it felt so, because the stakes are so low. You know, we're both meeting a bunch of people over the course of the day.
Yeah.
And to have it play out like that, I could have, if there had been a human-sized paper shredder nearby, I would have dove into it and just shredded myself and ended my own life. And then Chuck's trying to put me together.
I'm trying to find the guy.
I had a similar interaction, not where I'm introducing it to them,
Yep.
but where someone else did it.
Yeah.
And that made it difficult with the person I was talking to.
Yep.
I had a day where all these things happened like all at once, where I was just like, this is comical,
Yeah.
right? I will occasionally get, I don't want to say recognized, but
yeah.
you know, somebody will be like, oh, hey, you know, you're really funny. I saw you at this thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's great. I really appreciate that. And there was one day where like I went to like to a gas station. Somebody in the gas station was like, Ray Harrington? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, you're really funny, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great, cool.
Yep.
Then I'm with Finn a little while later, and we're at a store. I think it might have been Target or something like that. And a guy at the register like next to us was like, hey, real quick, you're a comedian, right? You're a stand-up comedian? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I saw you at the Comedy Connection. You're so funny.
Nice.
That's, again, very lovely.
Awesome.
And he even said to Finn, like, your dad's hilarious. I'm like, this, cool, thank you.
Yep.
This is nice. Finn does, he's 10. I don't know how much of what I do he actually gets.
Right.
Sure.
So that's really cool. And I went to get a haircut that day with my barber,
Yep.
which I have a relationship with, right? It's a give and take thing. Viewer, listener, if you're not familiar with this, I didn't have a dad growing up, and my barber's a real kind of red statey guy, and I struggle to connect with this man. I have a stepdad relationship with my barber.
Yeah.
He was even at Ray's show, drunkenly interrupting.
Yeah, that was fun. And so I'm at the barbershop place, and at this place it's like it's appointment only, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the door is locked. You have to hit the doorbell. So I hit the doorbell. The mailman is dropping off the mail. I would say mail person, but in this case it was mailman.
Right.
Or you could say, oh, what if you have to say person? Because mail is also, come on. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the mail person is dropping off the mail, and then Barbara opens the door, and they always check your temperature. They've been doing it since the beginning of COVID, which I'm kind of like, all right.
Yep.
Still do it?
They still do it. I don't get it. I am fine with it.
Yep.
Sure, have your protocols.
I just had COVID and had no temperature.
Yeah, same.
So you're like, all right, zip.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Oh, it is that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Wait a minute. Come to think of it, they don't check anybody else's temperature.
Wait a minute. Is that a thermometer? Yeah.
He does have it in the Barbicide.
oh,
The
then you're
blue,
fine.
the blue liquid.
Then you're
So I
fine.
feel like okay with
Yeah.
it. And it is a
Sterile.
comb. And when he pulls it out, it goes. It's like a xylophone from an old
Well, that's
cartoon.
just fun.
So the mailman says, like, I'm on the steps going into the barbershop. The mailman goes, you're Ray Harrington, right? And I turn, I'm like, huh? Right? Like, I'm genuinely like, who is this? And he's like, you're really funny. I've seen a bunch of your shows and blah, 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 blah. And then I think he even mentioned like Be a Man or something like that.
Wow.
It was really nice. And
Yep.
I really do appreciate it. It's wonderful when that kind of thing happens. It's nice because to me, it's not an ego thing. It's more just like, okay, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Like I do this, it's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
The barber, like, it was like I walked in and like I hit the doorbell and he opened the door and I went, do you know who the fuck I am? Like that's the takeaway that he had. Because then I come in and he's like, getting fucking recognized, huh? And I'm like, yeah, yes, that was nice. That was your mailman, right? That's cool. He's like, yeah, I don't get fucking recognized. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
This is third combative.
Yes, and I'm like, I just want to get my hair cut.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it was so strange. I felt like I had done something wrong
Right.
by someone else just going, "Hey, I know you."
Yep.
And it was horrifying.
This is a turn that I've taken over the past few years, where now, because I live in New York, I have, and I come back here a lot. There are some people who I know that are basically like, "Hey, New York, oh, you're back."
Oh, sure, yeah.
And they're kind of like, oh, like you came back home to what? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, And I could tell them, like, they're not happy that I'm around.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, why don't you go do your thing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this?
Look, we can.
You can say our names.
I think we each had probably like a dozen jokes.
Oh,
after.
yeah.
It was too much of a layup.
It was yeah. So I was like,
I think they're more. I don't think they're looking at it as like, oh, you're a big time guy. I think
they're thinking that I think I'm a big time guy.
right. I don't even think it's that. I think really that you came back and they were like, oh man, we were having such a good time. I'm kidding.
My favorite line of joking about Chuck is that he is vain, because we all know how deeply insecure he actually is, and so when we poke at his vanity, oh, it's so fun.
It's interesting
Because
that you
it's
call
innocent.
it vanity.
Yeah.
Because I don't see it as vanity. I see it as coming from the root cause being insecurity, but ultimately still applying. And but I think what that is I think that's because I read that little book about toxic people.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the
and it
$7
helped me
joke.
recognize
Yeah.
those things. I'm getting more money out of it right now.
Yeah.
This turned weird. I don't like making a fun joke, but in the third person, like you weren't there. That was weird. It started to feel mean as I was saying it. We're all broken. I think that's
Yes.
the
Yeah.
baseline.
Yes.
For sure.
I wanted to. I remembered my thing.
My vanity sags a lot more now that I'm older. Poke me in the vanity.
Now, Brad, what do you think of in your mind when, as a body part, when you say vanity?
Sure. Well, it's below the waist.
Okay.
I think it's the thing that connects his ball sack to his anus. I do think it, because that
His
thing,
perineum?
It's because I notice he puts it over his leg when he sits now.
Yes.
You put the perineum over your leg.
Well, yeah, it's
He
just
goes like
it's
this,
just
he picks up the balls and then he takes it and he puts
it's
it over the
just
side.
more comfortable that
And
The
way.
sometimes-
idea of a taint hanging lower than testicles
No, here's what's worse.
is insane.
Here's what's worse. So he lifts up his testicles, right?
Uh-huh.
He takes his whole skin. And it's almost like a tube.
Talking to the microphone like we have listeners.
It's almost like a tube, and he puts it on the side, and then he has a little cooler.
Oh no!
Yep, and he has an ice pack. He puts it on the ice pack on top of it.
It's so
Well, it
refreshing.
does get very hot.
Yeah.
yeah. So much friction.
So much skin.
I'm wearing 2 shirts all the time. I got to cool off somehow.
This is so insane.
You thought of the thing you were going to say. You wrote it down.
Yeah. So when we were talking about like talking about movies and pop culture and things
Yeah.
like that, and one of my reasons that I'm hesitant to just talk about like I saw this movie and like I saw Deadpool and Wolverine. We talked about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Off mic. And one of my hesitancies there is what I was saying before is like it's so ubiquitous. Like people, there's so much product that just talks about stuff.
Yes.
You find it redundant because there are people of all stripes and sizes and intelligence levels that are already having this discussion.
Yeah, I just to me it's like bordering on white noise, right? And I struggle with that when I want to talk about like I don't think I need to add my voice to the discussion
Right.
of a movie that is like number one or whatever. I'll talk about my thoughts about it with my friends and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But like, what about movies that aren't that? You know what I mean? The more of the quote unquote like art house movies and
Right.
stuff like that. And it bums me out that that's not a machine. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah,
the
it's tough.
machine of talking about all these things. Anyway, my point was before is when is the last time you went to see a movie at the theater that was like a mainstream movie that you didn't hear like discussion about? You know what I mean?
yeah.
You can actively avoid it, but you can try to avoid like Deadpool and Wolverine. I didn't want it spoiled for me. I had some
Yes.
stuff spoiled because I'm on the internet.
Right.
I had to actively avoid conversation, but I feel like every new mainstream movie that comes out, what you're going to get first is a fuck ton of conversation before the movie even comes out, just on, well, this is a rumor that's happening, this is a thing that could happen, this might happen, and I'm just like, I just want to go see a fucking movie. You know?
I do end up because I just like going to the movies and
Yeah.
just like seeing stuff. So I end up seeing stuff that's not really talked about that much. Like I saw Talk to Me, and Talk to Me wasn't really super.
Oh no, that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
mainstream.
I saw it in a movie.
Yeah.
It was a wide release, but it is like a lower budget.
Sure,
I'm not even
yeah.
sure who produced it, but I'm sure it was like someone smaller. But for me, I do go like Long Legs. I think I didn't really hear anything about that beforehand. I did see a trailer, but Rupert, my buddy Rupert in New York, he'll hit me up and be like, "This movie's coming out." And a lot of times he'll be like, it's only gonna be in the theater for 3 days.
Yeah.
Because so you know
Sure.
that it's kind of one of those smaller things.
Yeah.
And so I do end up seeing a lot of stuff like that.
And I think twice you've gone to like a mystery movie. Is that? There's
so
a
I'll
clever
go to-
name for it, but it's
It's like screen unseen, and I'll see like, but even those like one of them was American Fiction, which I don't know if there was that much talk before it came out, but there was a lot after.
Yeah.
And then I saw the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare in the screen unseen too.
Right.
But for mainstream stuff, it's tough. It's really
Yeah,
hard. But
yeah.
I do end up seeing like a lot of those smaller like horror-ish or thriller titles.
Yeah,
that
I
do
think
have
you
less of
definitely
that.
lean more towards like the horror thriller aspect, which is a lot. We've talked about that too, where it's like
that-
just the genre alone is like
That's the continuation of
Right.
independent film.
Yeah.
That's where that spirit has ended up, or in television, or something.
Chuck loves horror thriller stuff so much. He wrote a whole script about a guy with a really dangly. He had a cooler next to him.
Dangly is such a polite way to put it.
yeah.
Because you're leaving out dripping.
Yeah.
You're leaving out sagging and dragging.
Yeah.
It's Cronenbergian.
Well, here's what I think is crazy that people don't know this, and this fits with your age. It does match up, but the original drawings of Droopy Dog were based on your perineum. That's insane. They were based on your grundle.
What?
By the way, how many names are there
know.
for the taint?
I know. There's quite a few. One
Yeah.
scientific, and then the rest are kind of.
Yeah, I feel
fun.
like taint is the one that wins.
Oh,
Yeah.
Taint wins.
Taint wins.
Yeah.
Taint wins. I think it's so
What are we
sure. That's the name of the episode, by the way.
Come on.
Taint wins. Taint wins. That Olympics was fun.
Oh,
that was
yeah.
a big one.
There's I always, when I was growing up, people knew it as, and then I said it when I went to college. I think I used this phrase, and,
Right.
and people were like, "What? Right? The Gooch?
I know it from Jackass.
Gooch?
Yeah.
Okay, Gooch.
I know it from something, but I don't know what. But yeah, I know Gooch. Yeah, for sure.
From that police report.
Yes.
Oh no, that's from Brad saying, "Don't pooch my Gooch."
Oh right, yeah.
Because I treat it like a dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or when
I
he
do-
sat on
I
the
take
couch
it-
and he said, "Let me scooch my Gooch." I gotta scooch my Gooch.
Terrible.
Oh boy.
I regret bringing it up.
No, it's
Chuck,
fine.
you took a trip somewhere. Tell us about your dumb trip.
Well, I was going to say that. Speaking of things that get a lot of chatter,
Yeah.
Ray asked me to talk about my trip to see Limp Bizkit recently.
Ray has been champing at the bit. He's like,
Oh, yeah,
when
I
are we
can't
going to
wait.
hear
I
about the
can't wait.
biscuit?
Oh,
I want to
If
hear about
only.
you
My-
and 20,000 Islanders going to see
Yes.
Limp Bizkit in 2024 CE.
legally, that is a church in some cultures. That is legally a church.
They were not taxed.
If Limp Bizkit has a show in either Long Island or Staten Island, legally that's a church.
Yep.
They didn't have to pay tax on that.
Can we back up for a second? What's CE?
Common Era. It's
I didn't know that.
instead of
No.
AD.
Is that new?
Yeah. Past 10 years.
People like it more?
No.
Well, it's because Common came up with that. He
Yeah.
coined that
Yeah.
phrase.
Oh, yeah.
It's to get Jesus out of science.
Okay.
Instead of AD.
and BC.
Yeah.
It's BC and CE.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
We're keeping before Christ?
Yep.
That's weird.
Well, before Common Era, BCE.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. They're changing that too.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
Yuck on all parts.
I'm interested.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I saw Limp Bizkit recently.
Yeah.
And
in 2024, right?
that's right.
Okay.
Not on the news or
Like in
like in person.
playing music.
Actually, real quick, I hope you were interested. Did you see the trailer for the Y2K movie?
I
Yes.
didn't see the trailer, but I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
really.
Directed by Kyle Mooney.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Kyle Mooney's awesome.
Sure.
And the trailer is really great.
Yeah.
They take the Chumbawamba song, the big single, I Get Knocked Down. What was it called? Tub Thumping.
Type something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the score for the thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's produced by Jonah Hill, directed by Kyle Mooney. All unknowns as far as I know, in terms of the cast, and it's an A24 movie.
Yeah.
It looks really fun.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
looks really, really
No,
cool.
I saw some info about it, and then I had the ability to then click on the trailer, but I was like, I don't want to. You know what I mean?
You're gonna enjoy
'Cause
it.
I also I'm weird. Like I think a lot of comedy trailers ultimately do a disservice to the movie.
Interesting.
I think so too. They put an idea in your head of what this is because they're trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator.
Well, there's that aspect, but there's also the aspect often a trailer will put in, if you're doing a trailer for a comedy movie, we got to have really good stuff in here. We got to show that it's funny, right? So let's put in a bunch of the jokes. And then often you'll go see the movie and you're like, in the back of your head, you'll be watching the movie and a scene will be happening, but you remember from the trailer this joke.
Yep.
And now it doesn't ruin the whole scene, but it tells you where the scene ends up. And it's like, I agree. I mean, so much of comedy is the surprise, so you're just fucking sucking it all out of there. Yeah,
I agree. It looks great.
I'm very pessimistic today. This is a problem. I think I need to talk to somebody.
You know who can turn that around for you?
Who? Durst. Freddie?
Yeah,
Freddie D.
Well, I was gonna say just final thing about Y2K. The trailer doesn't play it up as a comedy. It plays it up as more of a thriller movie.
Yeah.
But it is silly. It looks great.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I've never seen Limp Bizkit live. This actually kind of brought up a weird conversation in my head. When I got into concerts, even though I was into a lot of very, very mainstream artists as well as smaller artists, I never went to big shows.
Who, like the little guy that was with Kid Rock?
Yeah, Joe C.
Rest in peace.
You know what? I paused before I said Kid Rock because I almost said Fred Durst. And then I realized, no, it was Kid Rock that had a little guy, a little rock. And then I realized, quite genuinely, in the heyday of that era of what do we call it? Rap rock?
Rap rock, new metal.
In that era, you know, Kid Rock had the little person. But I think if Fred Durst, if Limp Bizkit came out and they had a little person, I wouldn't have thought twice about it.
Nope.
I would have fully accepted it and just been like, yeah, they have that little guy.
It's because artists come in all shapes and sizes, right?
Oh, fuck off, Brad.
Your
earnestness makes me sick.
Maybe that's part of why this dynamic works. Maybe this is part of it.
Sure.
The idea of that and that and that. You know what I mean?
Well, I was doing mine very facetiously, very tongue in cheek.
But there is an element of truth to it.
Well, but he was doing his as a goof too. Yeah.
Sort
Yes,
of.
I
mean, if you think about it.
So
yeah, I think we are a lot of ways we have overlap for sure. You know, one of them is because that taint goes everywhere.
It overlaps.
Yeah.
Is there a bug in here?
It goes over everyone's lap.
If this podcast was like a humor section book, there would be a page and it would say Brad's taint as a Venn diagram. And it would be the taint in one circle and then everything else in the other circle. And it's because no matter what, it is always overlapping somewhere, right?
I think that...
Anyway, it was funny in my head.
I think that Brad's taint being like so sloppy and floppy, I think that should overtake the hot dog thing.
I disagree.
Ooh.
Which one would you rather have?
I'd rather have the hot dog
stick with
thing.
hot dog.
Well, you could use that as a hot dog warmer.
What if I get what if I get confused?
Well, not only that, but I think it would create a real juxtaposition in terms of just how terrified Brad would be of those rollers.
Yeah.
Imagine getting the tank caught in the roller.
We started with oatmeal.
He runs out of the 7-Eleven. There's something pulling him back.
We started with the idea of Brad's calm down oatmeal. We moved to hot dogs. We stayed with hot dogs for a while.
Yeah.
If the choice is taint, I'm staying with hot dogs.
Listen, you never get to pick your own nickname. You can try all you want, but ultimately something will stick or it won't. No pun intended. No pun intended at all.
Let's talk about Limp Bizkit.
I will say hot dogs for sure. Yeah. Hot dog has staying power. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but because of Brad's taint, now I don't have to bring a blanket to the movies anymore.
I'm not.
Why are you bringing blankets to the movies?
It's chilly in there.
Is that what you said to the doctor when he was like, "Oh, I think something's wrong," and he was looking at it, and you went, "No, it's chilly in there."
Yeah. Brad sometimes wraps himself in his taint, but he can't do it for too long because otherwise he'll turn to a butterfly.
This is. Let's just do this for the rest of the episode. This will be great. Brad legally can drive in the express lane for carpooling purposes.
Do you know why I pulled you? Oh, hey, Brad.
That's really fun. Yeah. I feel like I had a point with the man. It's happening. Is this leftover from COVID fog?
Yes.
Do you think so?
Left COVID? Left COVID?
You count that 2 days?
Leftover COVID.
Is that 2 days?
Leftover
ago?
COVID.
Yes.
That band sucks.
Yeah.
I saw them open for Bowling for Soup. Leftover COVID, and I was like, boo.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this though. Like I got into concerts when I was probably like 15. I'm not sure. When did you start going?
My first concert, I was 17.
My first concert probably. Yeah, it probably had to have been in like that 15. I think everybody, like a teenager.
Pre-driving? Because we were taking buses to the concerts.
I don't think I had my license at the time, but I think a friend who was older had a license.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this. I never realized it because I liked Limp Bizkit when I was like 14, 15.
Sure.
And I liked a lot of bigger bands. And they all went on these monster tours that I knew about. And like I would see the posters and I would see the DVDs afterwards. I never even thought to go to them. But I went to small clubs all the time to see smaller bands that were touring.
Yeah.
And I wonder why that is. I never thought about it until I went to this Limp Bizkit show because there was a CD that I had and it was the Family Values Tour CD. Mm-hmm. And it was a live CD from Limp Bizkit, Korn, Ice Cube, House of Pain, I think, was on it. There was a bunch of bands on it that I liked. And then there was also the Anger Management Tour, which I think was Eminem, different people like that. And I was like, I bought these CDs. I knew about why would I not go? The Up in Smoke Tour is the other one with Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Eminem. And I was like, I guess maybe I thought those were like beyond my reach. Like the idea of going to see a concert in the Boston TD Garden is what it's called now. It used to be called the Boston Garden. I don't know. Did you guys go to huge ones when you were kids?
I went to a couple of concerts at the Olive Garden.
Yeah.
Does that count?
Yes, absolutely.
There was the Family Values Tour there. Because when you're there, you are family.
Yeah.
And I really liked what Fred Durst was doing. He was give me something to grate. He was doing a lot of that. Yeah.
Whenever Ray gets into his whole Limp Bizkit shtick thing, I love it.
The people call it out at shows. They're like, do the Limp Bizkit puns. Do the puns. And I'm like, okay, where did I see him this time? And I have to take suggestions,
I did not go to big concerts. It's weird because the first one I went to was like an all-day festival. I don't want to say I was tricked into it, but I didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
I drove us to Indianapolis. It was called Deer Creek at the time, and it's now Xfinity, whatever.
Yeah.
And
it's like everything.
And Sugar Ray's playing at 1 p.m. And
Ray loves Sugar Ray.
Bush is going to take the stage at 10:30 p.m.
Let me give you another
all day. Yeah.
I love
but,
Machine Head. Machine Head rules.
I didn't have like any plans of how I was going to eat while I was there or what I had one bottle of water all day. It was
you were used to the other shows you would go to, the other music shows that you would see.
Yes.
Neil Sedaka was
all the shows I would go to see where they're like, all right, we're going to sing for a while and then we'll baptize some people and then we'll sing some more and then we're going to damn some people to hell and then more baptisms.
I bet I have a person that I have seen perform live that you will not expect, but continue.
I can't wait. I love it.
I went to that concert, but like I had friends at school who were like, oh, I went to Soldier Field and saw Pearl Jam, or I went to, even though like the festival I went to, not the same as Lollapalooza, probably half the size, but also 3.5 hours away instead of one train ride away. And so it all seemed out of my grasp, and that was the only show I had gone to for like
Palooza?
Yes, 2 years later, I went to see I went to see Pantera at the Peoria Civic Center.
Wow!
But I only went because my brother and our friend Steve, they're like, oh, we want to go see Pantera. Can we stay in your room? Can we visit you at college and whatever? And so they came down and we went to see Pantera and Sepultura.
And you had a
no, I'm sorry, Pantera and Biohazard. And
okay.
I looked somehow less likely to be at a Pantera concert then than I do now.
Right.
And boy, oh boy, I felt out of place.
That's fair.
All those big concerts. So in the mid '90s, it would have been like the Pearl Jam type concerts. All of them felt out of my reach.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny thing. One of the bands I really liked a lot growing up was the Ataris. It's a smaller punk band. They're really good. They did have a big song. It was Boys of Summer.
Yeah.
And we played with them. I played an acoustic show with Chris Rowe, the lead singer, one time. And we were talking, and he was talking to Brad, and he went to that concert with Brad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
And it's weird because
He remembered everything about it, and it's like so long ago.
I was like, this was my first show, was the X Fest in Indianapolis. He's like, what year? And I said, 1995. He's like, and I'm like, it opened with Sugar Ray. He's like, Ned's Atomic Dustbin. I'm like, Ned's Atomic Dustbin. He's like, oh, they were so good. And I'm like, yeah, I guess they had the song Kim the Waitress that I only vaguely remember now, but Chris would went through the whole thing, and I'm like, yeah, we saw this on the second stage.
Yeah.
I'm like, I threw nachos at a woman when Sponge played Plowed. It was great. He's like, oh my God, it was so energetic. And I'm like, at this point, Chris Rowe has played hundreds, if not thousands of shows.
For sure,
And this is 20 years later.
So
it's like a matinee show in Boston.
Yeah.
Just a great conversation.
Yeah,
it
was so fun.
Chris Rowe has my heart.
The weird thing that I saw, because I think my very first concert or show or whatever was actually CKY, which is very funny.
Where?
Yep.
In Boston.
Wow.
I was living in Kittery at the time.
Yeah.
And we went down and saw CKY. It was like a big deal. I think that might be my first show.
Do you remember what it was or not really?
No, I don't remember where it was.
Harper's Ferry,
I don't know.
Paradise.
I'm really not sure.
Probably like a venue that holds max 2,000 people.
Oh, this was small.
Yeah,
no,
it was smaller than
this
that?
was a club show. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Did they have unlimited soup, salad, and breadsticks?
Now that you mention it, no, everybody was Australian.
Crikey.
They had big onions. I've been to some fun shows and stuff. I don't really go to a lot of them. The problem is there's a bunch of the music that I like, and I joke about this with Kalina sometimes. I'm like, I would love to see that person live or that band live, but I don't want to be around the people that would be at that show. It's a weird thing where I'm like, I don't want to do it. I can see it in my head. I'm like, it wouldn't be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. And also being a stand-up comic and like being used to being on stage, I find myself feeling like I am policing the room when
For
I'm
the
at
artist?
a show. Yeah, where I want to be like, shut the fuck up. They're fucking killing it right now.
I feel
Shut up.
I feel similar at a comedy show, but not at a concert.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I remember seeing who was it? I don't even remember who. Oh, it might have been the Avett Brothers. And they put on a great show. And they like my wife loves them.
Yeah.
And I went through a period where I really liked them. And they do a phenomenal job. They're like their live show. They leave it all out there. It's really cool. But I remember being like, why would you come and pay a ticket to just go like talk at full volume
I know.
with 6 people at the bar? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I know.
You know what I mean? And it
even
bums me out.
With all the cell phone stuff, like I'm like, okay, first 3 songs, I get a couple pictures, get like a quick video. That's it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like that's it. Okay,
Yeah.
we're done. But
Yep.
like other people like this, like the entire time,
Yeah.
and I'm like, are you having a good time? It's so
Yeah,
weird.
yeah. No,
It's-
I remember at that Avett Brothers show, like all the people I was with, everybody was just like, "Why is this happening?" Because it was like a huge contingent of people that were just like, it was as if the show just started and they were already there drinking.
Yeah.
and they just, I'm like, why is this happening? The performance, the
Yes.
show that I went to, that I'm amazed that this even happened.
yeah.
Wayne Newton.
Whoa.
That is a weird one. How did you go to Las Vegas?
This wasn't even in Vegas. It's like it's not believable the person I saw, and it's not believable where I saw them. This was in Bangor, Maine.
Yeah.
And we saw Wayne Newton. It's because my friend Kat worked at a radio station, and they
Right.
were doing like a giveaway thing for tickets to see Wayne Newton.
Yeah.
And she's like, so I'm supposed to go to the show
Yeah.
with the winners of the tickets to the show.
Yep.
We have a whole deal with everybody. Like we have a limo coming to pick everybody up.
Yeah.
And we're going to see Wayne Newton, and we're meeting him backstage before the show. And it's like a meet and greet with
and
Wayne
greet.
Newton and all this stuff. And she's telling me about this story. I'm like, that's ridiculous. The day comes and she's like, so the people that won the tickets can't go. Something happened, like a bad thing in their lives happened, and that's terrible. She's like, however, this deal has been set up for so long that the station wants me to go as one of the winners, right? Because this will look bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's like, do you want to go? And she's like, I have the extra ticket. I'm like, do I want to, for free, like get picked up in a limo, go with one of my closest friends to see Wayne Newton in Bangor, Maine? Yes, I do.
Yep.
Yes, I do. So, like, to this day, there's like a picture of Kat and I with Wayne Newton, and we're just like, yep, that's Wayne Newton. And then we watch the show, and it's just elderly people in the audience, and then the two of us, college kids, just like, yep, that's Wayne Newton. It was such a weird show.
Can I ask you, so people know some of the big songs.
Yeah.
How was it overall?
It was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun. It was fun to see the guy. I think by the end, I was like, yep, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't a long show, for sure.
Yeah.
But it was just fun. And Wayne Newton was nice. He was cool. But it was just so weird. It was such a weird thing because also Wayne Newton, that's not from my time.
No.
That's like way ahead of me.
Oh, yeah.
I only knew him as like a cultural like cornerstone thing.
Me too. I can't even place the height of Wayne Newton's popularity. I don't even know where that is.
And why do I immediately think it's like when Liberace was big?
I know.
It's like that period of time.
There are some artists that it's really hard for me to place.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, I only knew Wayne Newton as a reference.
Right.
Like,
too.
oh
Yes.
yeah, he was in the National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation.
Yep.
Was he in Mars Attacks? Or is that somebody
Might-
else?
might have been.
I think he might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was so funny. It was so funny. So Wayne Newton.
Tom Jones.
Yeah, you're right.
Which I think of very similar.
Same thing, yeah.
Exactly
Yeah.
same person in history. I'm like, was
Yeah.
he huge in 1981? Was it 1972? Was it 1964?
Yep.
But this is the, you know, and if you're a younger viewer listener and you find yourself kind of saying no to things, there's a reason. Go out there and say yes to a few more things, because you never know when you're going to end up in a limo going to see Wayne Newton.
Well, this
It's
is
crazy.
This is exactly the Limp Bizkit story. Is Ruppert was like, "Do you want to
This
see?"
is his origin story.
He's like, "Do you want to see Limp Bizkit?" And it's
Did Ruppert have a limo?
let me just make this really. I want to make this
It's got
really
a
clear.
really long car.
We've talked about the difference in like my optimism and openness or
Yeah,
whatever. And I think that fads come and go in terms of music in movies and whatever too. And I think that it's like, yeah, the Bee Gees had a place, Poison had a place,
course, yeah.
all these White Snake, whatever, and Limp Bizkit and all that stuff. They all had a place, and
Sure.
people who were kind of like either fuck them or they suck. I'm like, I don't subscribe to that. I subscribe to things go through different periods in time, and I think the shorter, this is my math, the shorter the fad, the more people poke fun at it.
Yeah.
So I
Sure.
think for some reason, like 80s metal, for some reason, it seems like that lasted long enough where people just accept like Motley Crue and all those bands as like being an important part of rock history,
Yeah.
where they don't accept Limp Bizkit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think it might be the time period. It might be that it was a shorter amount of time that this thing was popular.
Oh, yeah. I think another part of it, though, that makes it tricky, which I think adds more of a pushback from people that want to poo-poo it.
Yeah.
Because I recognize Limp Bizkit. I listened to Limp Bizkit
Yeah,
when I was in
right.
high school,
Yeah.
Kid Rock, all the stuff. Bah with the bah.
Fought with a lot.
And Eminem, all of it. I hesitate to put Eminem in that category, but it's difficult because this is my point. There was a clear aggression that was part and parcel to the performer.
Yes.
That I think that's the outlier when it comes to comparing it to.
Maybe
I
you're
agree
right.
that the time is shorter, but also there's like an angst, anger thing.
You're right.
That isn't there for some of those other periods that you'd be like disco. Like, oh, look at disco, and
Right.
disco's this and disco's that. It was a little longer, but not that much longer.
No,
but that aggression, that
You're right.
thing, I think adds to it makes it easier for people to go, well, what the fuck?
That's a great point. It's a really great point because like that is, I think, a thing that just would inspire people to criticize more than the Bee Gees having a good time.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Eminem, I also agree that Eminem is related to that group.
I know.
However, Eminem has won Grammys. He won an Oscar. He's the Beatles were the biggest selling artist, and then it was Eminem.
Yeah.
And that's it. He's like a cultural phenomenon, one of the biggest artists of all time. But he is related to Marilyn Manson, Kid Rock, and Limp Bizkit.
I think it's from the era.
Yes.
Yeah.
And still has that aggression attached to it, and comes in the stripe of like it's for angsty white boys.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think that's
Yeah.
part of it too.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I feel like, something like Staying Alive, even though that's from that disco era, it's like it's really hard to ignore that as like a very important and great pop music song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was also written by somebody with a taint that was too big. I'm not even kidding. I'm
doing my
the
best.
whole thing. It was the Bee Gees based most of their identity on what happens if you sit on your taint.
Yep.
Ow, ow, ow.
And that's why the voice was so high as well. It was like you know?
But I 100% agree with you about your Wayne Newton thing in terms of go do things.
Yeah.
And I think, like we just talked about how I went to go see American Fiction, and I don't like American Fiction that much as a movie. I think that they introduced a lot of very important plot threads that they never resolve. But afterwards, I was like, you know what? I'm really glad I went to go see that. And I don't think I would have seen it if it wasn't that screen unseen thing.
Yeah.
And same thing with Talk to Me or Long Legs or any of those movies. Like those are more in my wheelhouse of what I would see. But I like the idea of going to see stuff that I don't know that much about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about the filmmakers. I don't know where they're going to go with the story because I don't really know anything about where they normally go. But the Limp Bizkit thing came from that. And I was a pretty big Limp Bizkit fan for a short amount of time. I was so much more drawn into the world of punk rock because it felt so much more accessible. And there were bands that were headlining clubs that held 500 people, where Limp Bizkit was playing to 20,000 people, 30,000 people. That felt a lot further away. Same thing with Eminem.
Yeah. By the way, same reason I wouldn't see Limp Bizkit is what I said earlier. Like, I don't want to see it with the people that would go.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, so
Staten Island.
I think when I was young, like I don't know when their cover of Faith came out. That was their break. It was probably 1999, and so I was pretty young. I was 15, and for a couple years I was into them. I was into the next album, which had Nookie and Break Stuff. And then eventually I fell out, and I was way more into the stuff that I was actually part of. I was part of the punk rock scene. But when Ruppert asked me, I kind of realized, I'm like, I've never seen Limp Bizkit. I've never seen that band, even though I know a lot of their songs really well. I like a lot of the stuff they did. I mean, from an artistic standpoint, they got huge one year, and the following summer, instead of doing a headlining tour where they could have made millions and millions and millions, they did their guerrilla tour where they just went and set up and played for free. And from an artist standpoint, I think that that's a really interesting, cool choice. That's very fan forward. So anyway, Ruppert invited me to go, and I was like,
There we are.
I'm like, I'll fucking go. Like I'm turning 40 this summer. This will probably not come up again, I'm guessing. You know what I mean? I think about that stuff a lot.
Oh, no. I think acts like that need to be around doing that the same way that Wayne Newton was an elderly man then going around and doing those shows.
Well, it's really, I mean, this is a whole nother discussion, but like, I don't really know how bands hold their draw, because Limp Bizkit is playing a place that holds 20,000 people.
Yeah.
And it was completely packed and full. And there are probably a lot of similar bands of similar sizes from that time period that no way are they doing that. So I don't know the difference between them.
Yeah, and another part of that is like with Limp Bizkit being that aggression thing, that labeled kind of idea, the backwards red hat, all of that stuff, and it feeling very of a certain time.
Yes.
Almost like, is it a novel? Like, does it border on novelty act?
I think it borders on novelty act.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it borders
Yeah.
on it for sure. But here's the other thing. How much can that novelty act, how much mileage can you get out of that if it's only that, which is really hard to tell.
Yeah.
But
I think only time can tell on that. Like, if you do this tour,
Yes.
and it's 20,000 people and it's successful and all that stuff, like if it has staying power, it'll continue in some regard like that, or is it going to be like there it was and then an extreme drop off?
Yes. It's like different
I don't
for
know.
a band like Green Day that has kind of crossed over to just mainstream band where they can do that tour every year.
Right.
They play in the arenas every year.
Yeah.
I don't know if Limp Bizkit is like, we haven't done this in 10 years.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
all of our fans are coming out because
Right.
it's a limited. Anyway,
Yeah.
so we went to the show. I never have gone to PNC Art Center. It's in New Jersey. And yeah, we went in, and it was a really strange tour because they had a lot of hip-hop acts that I didn't know. And they had, do you remember Riff Raff? He was
Vaguely.
So the only thing I know about him was there was a movie called Spring Breakers where James Franco was this Florida rapper with like braids and grill, and Riff Raff sued them because it was based on him or something like that. And so he was there, and I only remember
Jamie
him.
Kennedy also sued.
I only remember him as this oddity from this thing. And he hosted the show from backstage the whole time. So
Weird.
it was just on screen.
Yeah, yeah.
And me and Rupert are like, we can't even like parse what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a band, like a rap group would come out, like one weird guy with a keyboard, like a really weird guy.
That's
not even
up
like
to say about Elton John. I think that's absolutely fucked up.
like not even what I would refer to as hip hop, just like a weird guy. You go backstage and then you see Riff Raff backstage talking and doing stuff. Obviously, Corey Feldman was on the tour.
Obviously.
Well, that was just like publicized, and he's like complete lunatic. He's basically Michael Jackson. That's what he is live.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, me and Rupert really just kind of talked throughout the entire openings, all the acts, and like, you know, we were just kind of hanging out.
Meanwhile, Ray and his
I'm seething
friends
over there.
are
Why
like,
would you
"Oh,
pay this much money just to talk to me? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But here, what was weird is like, there's like 23-year-old girls, super young. Like,
Why were there 23-year-old girls there?
and they were like, and these 23-year-olds, and they were like hot and wearing white tank tops with backwards red hats.
Yeah, of course.
Like they're fucking into it. And I'm like, how are these people reached by Limp Bizkit?
Again, novelty act. That's what it says to me.
It just doesn't seem like they've been present enough to do that. Well, but I'm always surprised at stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like, I shot that sizzle reel, part of the sizzle reel, me and Brad went to Ohio to do for the micro wrestlers that got on Discovery Channel. I went to go see them recently in Staten Island with Brian Nichelle, who is the person that directs the show and hired us. And tons of young women and men just like psyched up for these little people wrestling. And I'm like, how did this reach you? That's what I want to know.
Although some people say, if you leave a decently sized square empty and do nothing for long enough on Staten Island, a little people wrestling show will grow up out of it. Right?
Like larva.
Like it'll yeah.
So-
which is ironically one of the tag teams. The larva.
The larva. So
They get up there and everybody's chanting pew pate, pew pate, pew pate. Oh, it's happening!
really,
Brad starts unwrapping his taint from one of them.
Oh shit!
Really
He's
giving
gonna
us-
do it. And what they do is they have one little person sort of sit/lays on the very end of the taint, and then one of the other little people jump off of your shoulders, and they land on it like the blob on a lake, and it shoots the little person up into the air.
Hurts.
And they're like, "Oh, they did the pupate."
hurts.
Pupate.
Pupate, pupate.
I think the funniest thing is the idea of a Staten Island crowd knowing the word pupate.
Oh,
So
Brad really going after him. Wow.
Take that.
Staten Island.
So-
and you're next. Jersey.
so finally, after all the acts go on, Limp Bizkit takes the stage, and I mean, I think it's widely known that like Wes Borland, their guitarist, is like an excellent guitarist and stuff like that. It's a very talented band.
Second only to Corey Feldman.
Youngway Melstein. What's his name? Youngway?
Ingve.
Ingve. So they were awesome. They opened with break stuff, and like it was just like immediately the crowd was just 1,000% in.
How funny would it be if after break stuff, then Fred Durst goes, "All right, who wants to hear some new shit?" And then they just start doing like completely brand new for the rest of the show.
There was one new song that they had released a video for. It's actually pretty good. It's very low key. It's not like super.
And it's kind of looking back at your younger days and seeing that like things are different now. And it's like, give me something to fix.
Was it about the Nookie? or the journey.
Turns out the Nookie was inside us all along.
I didn't love this. They did change Nookie to be Journey. They did it all for the journey.
What?
The trip. The friendlies moments. I don't know. And so
you can take a picture and stick it on my fridge.
Man, we're just setting Ray
stick
up.
it on my mantle.
We're just setting Ray up to do his pre-written Limp Bizkit material.
I have pages and pages in my notebook.
I would
Pages.
the description for the episode is Ray does 2 Limp Bizkit parodies. It's true.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for the day where I can finally break out my Dear Stan stuff.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So it's funny because I said the crowd was 1,000% in, and if that's accurate, then me and Rupert were 10,000% in.
Yeah.
Like a hat grew out of my head. But
Oh, you look at it, you're like, oh, wrong red hat.
Sucks it back in.
suck it back in. But Fred Durst was pretty like low key, but he was like, and he was coming out and he was like, hey buddy, he's like, yeah, thanks for being here. It's gonna be a good time. Really appreciate it. It does one of those, and I was like, oh my God, it was crazy. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But they played all
I
the
heard
hits.
he came out with a cane, and everybody's like, oh, he's so old. And as he was going, the cane got stuck. And he tipped forward like he was going to fall. And then he flew. He did a full front flip and stood up.
Did you see him come out at Lollapalooza? It was like a huge viral thing. He came out dressed as a grandpa.
Yeah.
Because that was their first thing. Awesome. I mean, I think his awareness of what Limp Bizkit is pretty damn high.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're kidding themselves. I think they're like, we had a lot of fun. We were huge. People enjoyed it. Let's just have fun. And that's definitely their vibe.
Yeah.
But they were great. Very strange. They played clips of other songs in between their songs. Like the DJ Lethal played them. Most of it like stuff from Jersey. Like they played Living on a Prayer, stuff like that. At one point they said, who here is under the age of like 18, right? And there's a handful of people. And he's like, all right, I think everybody come up on stage. And he goes, you guys can just hang out for the rest of the show. And he had them all sit down. And then he just like rapped with them and did that. And then at one point in like a later song, he had them all stand up and kind of jump with him. And it was very touching and very nice. But they were really good. They were very tight. And it was just like a very fun time. Very weird crowd. Very, very strange crowd. A lot of weed. I think a lot of people, novelty fans, being like, oh, Limp Bizkit's weird. This is going to be weird. Let's do this. But I was really impressed. I think they did a great job.
Nice.
It was really fun. And I'm glad I went. And much like Ray's Wayne Newton story, I just do think it's fun to go be like, why not? Just go do this thing. We're not going to go see Limp Bizkit every Thursday. I liked them 25 years ago and have never seen them. This is probably going to be the only time this happens.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was really fun. We had a great time.
That's great.
Yeah, it was really good. I don't know. This is a little side thing that I thought was interesting that kind of like struck me and I forgot. Limp Bizkit got big, in 2000, 1999. Wes Borland, who did all the makeup and was their guitarist, left the band at that time and started an independent comedy band called Big Dumb Face, where they made an album called Duke Lion that was like a mythical character, and it was like kind of Dungeons and Dragonsy, and they just made a whole album of that, and they toured, and I did see Big Dumb Face.
Wow.
In 2001.
There you go.
With Jordan.
Wow.
And they were incredibly talented.
Sure, yeah.
If it feels like the weirdest theater kid in your school made up an idea.
Sure.
For
Yeah.
a concept album about a Dungeons and Dragon character. And it was awesome.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
And maybe we'll wrap up with this question because it's interesting. I was thinking about like shows, that I should have gone to, wish I had gone to, that kind of idea, right?
Yeah.
Thinking of like bands or performers, musicians, whoever that maybe it's past that time, right? Because now you can see, like, I'd love to see a bunch of bands live.
Yeah.
Like Violent Soho, I would adore to see Violent Soho live. Unfortunately, they're on like a hiatus,
Right.
And I also heard that they were like the best Australian band to see live. They like were a great live act, and it kills me.
Yes.
So there's that kind of regret.
Yep.
But there's another version of regret. Like, is there someone that you wish you had seen before they passed, maybe, or before they stopped performing.
I know.
Or ideally, maybe I'm trying to ask a question specific enough for my answer that I already have.
I have an answer for this.
Or something that's maybe not from your time, but you would love to go see, right? Like, I guess it would be the equivalent of you going to see Limp Bizkit now, and then a kid who's like 20 going to see Limp Bizkit now. It's that kind of idea. Because I have one in my head. I've always wanted to go see them. I'll just say it, it's Bob Seger. I wish I had seen Bob Seger. I don't know if he still performs. I don't think so.
It doesn't seem like a name that I've seen. I look at a lot of concert listings, and when I go to these big shows, of which I've gone to many over the past few years, I don't remember seeing the name Bob Seger.
Yeah, I know. It's like he's classic rock. I have an unashamed love for Bob Seger. I grew up on it. My mom loved Bob Seger, and when I was a kid, I heard it a ton. And I love Bob Seger. Yeah. I'll still throw on some Bob Seger every once in a while. Yeah. But there's a little twinge of irony to it. But I really that is a person I would love to see live, because I know at least when he was younger, he was really great live. There's some live album stuff that's like really killer with him. He's been around forever. Yeah. Forever. My buddy who I went to college with, Matt Dion, opened a vinyl shop. Like, he sells and collects records, right? Yeah. And so he sent me some Seger, which was funny because, we used to joke about that. Yeah. But he sent me like a double album that was live, and he's like, legitimately, this is an amazing live album. And then he just sent me a video of a Bob Seger performance. It was like a television show. It's black and white. It's from the fucking 50s.
All right.
And he's like, I didn't know Bob Seger was doing shit then. And it was really impressive. So that is somebody where I'm like, that's my childhood. Yeah. There's a special place in my heart for that. I would love to say I've seen Bob Seger live. I know it sounds weird. I feel like a really old man when I say that.
No, I don't think so. I think that makes perfect sense. Do you have someone?
Nope.
I have a couple.
I'm still thinking, by the way.
Yeah, good. Yeah. One of them is a comic, and it's Mitch Hedberg. I've never seen Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, see, you're taking comedy into this?
I mean, comedy is tough because, like...
Okay, fine. Then George Carlin.
Yeah, I know, exactly. You know what I mean? I don't want to get into that, but I want to see people that we could have conceivably seen.
Sure,
Because I believe that if I remember correctly, when I was into comedy, I think Stephen Lynch and Mitch Hedberg did a co-headlining tour that came around to all the clubs, and I just didn't go see it.
That's true. My one of my best friends from college, Jeff, saw that show. Yeah.
See, like, that's...
And it was like pretty shortly before he died.
It was. Did you see Mitch? Did you ever see Mitch Hedberg?
I didn't. No.
I would love to see Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah, for sure.
My music answers, one is less mainstream, so I'll do that first. There's a band called the Dance Hall Crashers, and they are a ska band. This band was started by Tim Armstrong and Lars Fredriksson. Tim Armstrong started Operation Ivy, and Tim and Lars also started Rancid. But they started Dance Hall Crashers to be a ska act that was female.
A skact. In the industry, we call it a skact.
To be female fronted. But then I think that Rancid got too big, and they were like, we don't have time to do this, but we want you guys to do this anyway. Like, before they ever recorded anything. So the Dance Hall Crashers became their own band, and they're just an excellent ska band that was really based on these two women vocalists who basically every song the entire time is harmonies the entire time, and they're incredible. And I was really, really inspired by that as a writer. And another band I really love, Real Big Fish, they also have a ton of harmonies. And one of the guys from Real Big Fish eventually was a fan of the Chuck and Brad podcast, and we talked to him. We went to Brooklyn and we hosted a screening of the ska documentary, and I talked to him, and he on stage we were talking about stuff. I'm like, yeah, Real Big Fish was always really big into harmonies. And he's like, well, we were really inspired by the Dance Hall Crashers, and I'm like, oh, of course. I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
But Dance Hall Crashers broke up before I was really like old enough to go to shows, and they've done one reunion show in Hawaii.
Yeah,
and I was like, I can't make it.
Yeah.
The other band that I never really thought about until it was recently announced that they will never play another show is Aerosmith. Because when I was young, like I'm saying 13 to 15,
sure,
I really got into Aerosmith. I loved Wayne's World.
Yeah.
And I mean, Aerosmith has a million good songs. I like Shut Up and Dance, like stuff like that. And I think it's that big, huge venue thing where I'm like, I never even conceived of going like, when is Aerosmith playing? Because I'm sure if you wanted to see them in the early 2000s, late 90s, you could.
Yeah.
They were touring.
Yeah.
And I never went to see Aerosmith. And just recently, I guess they were on their farewell tour, and something happened to Steven Tyler, and he went to the doctor, and he's like, you can never sing again. And they just canceled all the rest of the farewell tour dates.
Yeah.
And funny, the reason I know is Fun Bear Sabrina was like, some show that I went, the Green Day show. And I was like, it was great. She's like, oh, my concert, like, dreams are, like, done. I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, Aerosmith was the one band I wanted to see. I was going to go to the farewell tour, and they just announced they're never doing a show again because of...
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. So Aerosmith, I think, is really...
No, I get it. And, there's something interesting with that, too, is, like, I think of Aerosmith, it's newer, younger than Bob Seger.
Right.
Sure.
But I think, like, what would interest me with an Aerosmith is, like, it's such of a time.
Yes.
And I'd like to see that show.
Oh, yeah.
And part of, like, the Bob Seger thing is, it's my childhood. Like,
Yeah.
that's a big part of it. It's definitely a nostalgia-based thing.
Yeah.
But also, I would love to see, I was thinking of, like, Van Morrison.
Yeah.
Oh.
Van Morrison would be amazing. But I would love to see a show from the classic rock era, where we're talking, like, I think Aerosmith's a little newer than that, but I mean, like, if the band is out there, it's like there's a grand piano out there, maybe they sit there for a couple of songs, the guitars are there, the drums are there, the keyboard, all that stuff, but then there's like a whole brass section.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
Like
that,
that kind of classic rock.
Yeah, I know what you
that would
mean.
be so cool, because
Like Chicago?
Yeah, like that's stuff I haven't seen at a live show. I've seen a band, I've seen an individual, I've seen a duo, but the idea of a full, like, rock and roll band, not rock band, but rock and roll. You know what I mean?
I think for years it was Motion City Soundtrack, but we saw them when we were young last year in Las Vegas. Same with Something Corporate. It was like, I heard about this band, and it became possible to go see them on tour when they were done touring.
Right.
And so being able to see those bands in the same day, along with Reliant K and others, was great.
Yeah.
Because it crossed off, I haven't seen this band live.
Yeah.
And I think about the Rolling Stones or Bruce Springsteen, or like people who have been playing stadium shows for years and kind of have the command of a crowd. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Taylor Swift puts on a heck of a show. I'm sure Lady Gaga puts on a heck of a show.
Yeah.
But I'm just not, it's to be like, hey, Chuck, do you want to spend hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars, to go see Taylor Swift as two men, one of whom is in his 40s and one of whom feels like he's in his thousands? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Plus third ticket for the taint.
But think of all the food you can sneak in.
Well, the costs are higher too
watch
for Chuck. He's got to get that fake ID. He has to bribe the security people for letting him in, because I don't know if you knew this, every single Swiftie show, every Taylor Swift show on her tours has a little printed out thing. It's sort of like the don't take checks from this person at a convenience store. It's like that, right?
Yeah.
You're part of Taylor Swift's Most Wanted. It's insane. But I totally get that. It's just the idea of that genre and that vibe not being something that I guess exists in the mainstream now.
Right.
Is a real interest. With that, I think Foo Fighters is probably the last one
Yeah.
of
Foo Fighters
the arena rock kind of people.
I will say, I know you don't like listen to Green Day. Their newer stuff,
I like Green Day.
Yeah, over the past couple, I'd say decades, like their live show does incorporate full piano, keyboards, acoustic guitars, and horns sometimes too.
Yeah.
So they have expanded. Like if you think of that original stuff,
Yeah.
it is like fucking 3-piece, raw, kind of coming from that Ramones thing.
Right.
But their shows now are really expanded in terms of having like 9 musicians.
Oh,
on the
sure.
songs, you know?
I guess when I think of like classic
No, it's
rock
different.
and that
It's
thing,
different.
yeah.
It's a different
And there's
thing.
like backup singers that are like gospel singers
Yeah.
and like stuff like that.
I know.
Basically like any song in Blues Brothers, like the band that would be performing, like give me that. I want to have that experience.
I think my version of that is probably like Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah,
that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
You mentioned maybe an artist.
Elton John would be awesome.
Oh, sure.
An artist who has passed. Tony Sly was the lead singer of the band No Use for a Name.
Yeah, Tony Sly.
And I love that band. And then, he had done solo stuff. And then after he died, they did a tribute album where a bunch of different bands, I think most signed to Fat Wreck, recorded versions of his songs.
Yeah,
and so you
yeah.
hear different arrangements on all these songs.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, the heart of the song is amazing. The aesthetic changes, but the mission is the wrong word. The moral, the heart of the song has not changed. And it's so good. But he has passed away. So seeing, No Use and Friends, it's not the same.
No. So. It's or like the Grateful Dead, Dead and Company.
Yep.
My dad just went to Vegas to see Grateful Dead with John Mayer.
In the Sphere.
In the Sphere.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
The last one I'll say that is really specific and actually happened to me, and it was such a missed opportunity because I decided not to go, and I shouldn't have. There's a band called Scala, Scala, and it's a women's choir. And they cover like a ton of songs, and they make them like beautiful and haunting. And they do like from like songs like from Creep to like I Touch Myself. Like there's a million songs they do, and they're awesome. And they came to the Wilbur Theater in Boston, and they're from like the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't feel like driving to Boston. I don't know. It was around this time. And then this is 2010. They have never returned to the U.S. to tour.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Like, why? I mean, maybe at the time I didn't think of the mechanics of a band from the Netherlands, especially a choir. This isn't 5 people.
Yeah.
This is like 25 people. Why didn't I think, this probably is not going to happen for decades, if ever again.
Yeah.
So that's a huge one for me.
No, that's true. I mean, and there's definitely like some comedy shows that I'm really bummed that didn't happen for sure.
Yeah.
I have a recent regret there. I have a decades old one. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to get into the whole thing. I'll just say quickly, it was the Kids in the Hall. That was the first one.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go. I don't know if I think I told this story on the podcast before, but my friend Sean and I in high school we loved Kids in the Hall, and they were performing a tour.
Yep.
And they were going to be in Boston, and we it was during a school day, so we had the plan. Sean left his house and did not go to school, picked me up with his car, and we were going to go. And then Sean was like, I want to stop at the Fox Run Mall in the Burger King there and have lunch before we go. And I was like, okay. And we go there, and his mom was at the mall.
So she caught you?
And she caught us.
I didn't know the story.
Oh, yeah. She caught us like right away. Before
Yeah.
we left the fucking town, we were caught. And she was like, go take Ray home, and you come straight home. And it was like a whole thing. He got in a lot of trouble for it. And I remembered even then being like so mad, like, why did we go to the fucking food court? It's so stupid.
There's a lot of options, Ray.
Yeah, it was just so
You don't
crazy.
have to eat Burger King.
Right, yeah. So I had that regret for a long time. I have since been made whole with that
Yeah.
because Kevin McDonald gave me the tickets to go and see them when they were touring in Boston at the same theater I was supposed to go to.
Yeah.
And then I go backstage, I hang out with them. It was wonderful. It was really great. The new regret though is I just drew a complete blank in my head. This keeps happening all day.
You've never eaten Burger King.
Oh, that
Because
was
of
it.
that same reason.
That was it. It was the chicken parmesan sandwich.
He was about to order when the mom grabbed him by the ear.
Yeah, that was absolutely it. No, this is gonna kill me though. I had one in my head. It was for
it was a comedy one.
It was
Yeah.
a comedy one.
It's a more recent one.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
All right.
It is what it is.
Gallagher.
It was going to be wonderful and heartwarming. I don't remember.
That story's crazy, the Burger King one. I didn't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, I told Finn that story because we just went to that mall, and I was explaining that, and it was just, it's wild.
Yeah.
Why did we go to the food court?
It's bizarre.
Why did we go to the food court?
Yeah.
It's maddening.
Yeah.
It really is.
I hate it so much. Oh, I remembered. It is Kids in the Hall adjacent.
Okay.
When Scott Thompson just this past year went on a tour as Buddy Cole,
Yes.
his character from Kids in the Hall, and he was doing a whole tour as Buddy Cole, and it kills me that I missed out on that show because
Yes.
he came to Boston at the City Winery. and I wanted to go to that show, but I was already working that night, and the tickets were
Expensive.
outrageous.
Yeah.
But it kills me because that character is fantastic. Scott Thompson's fantastic.
Yep.
And then, funnily enough, like a few weeks ago, Kevin McDonald reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I'm going to be doing a tour of city wineries. I'm going to be in Boston. Will you open for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, of course."
Yes.
And I went and I did that, and it was wonderful. Again, Kevin's great, like such a genuine guy. But even then, I was in my head. I'm like, I should have been here for that Buddy Cole show too. Damn,
yeah.
you know what I mean? But it is, I think maybe the moral of all of this is you should go and see the things that you like if you have the opportunity.
Yeah.
It's too bad we don't have a live show coming up
To
that
plug,
we could
yeah.
now plug, because it feels like that's the perfect back end.
Well,
right?
if we end up doing an intimate live Halloween-based show, you should come. That's all I'm going to say. If we do.
Yeah. But what kills me is I've been saying we should do it, and it should be the most intimate show that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Meaning
Yeah.
one ticket is for sale.
Yep.
Right.
And that one person can't even bring a guest. You can't bring somebody.
No.
It's not one and.
No.
It's just one person gets the ticket.
Yeah.
We do the whole live podcast for that one person.
But part of your pitch was that the ticket was $30,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's exclusive. It's never going to happen again. And
we just
that person.
we just sold it. Martin Shkreli.
Yes.
All right. He's not going to like some of the bits we're doing.
Wait, is that the Wu-Tang guy?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so sad that he's the Wu-Tang guy. I bet all of the clan is like, no. He's the different guy.
Yeah.
He's a bro.
Then there's a different clan that's like, no, he's the Wu-Tang guy.
But yeah, that is funny. So we will do that. We'll record it for the one person
Yes.
at
Right.
30,000.
They'll get a
And
copy of it.
they get the episode, the
Yep.
recording, but we won't put it on the live feed.
We're going to have so much funny stuff in that
Yeah,
episode.
It's gonna be
I'll
our
be honest,
funniest
about
episode.
a month later, we will be releasing it on the main feed, and then boy, oh boy, are they going to feel regret.
Before we close, I was supposed to remind you of something.
This episode has a sponsor.
There we go.
Before we go to this, can I give one last little concert thing?
Yes.
I almost didn't go to a show. This is almost like the flip side of the missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Let's go. Brad was one of the people that came with me. And we went to go see Stephen Lynch after I hadn't really thought about him for a lot of years. And he was always a very talented singer and guitarist.
Yeah.
Do you know that he won a Tony?
No.
He won a Tony because they did Wedding Singer off Broadway, and he played Robbie
Oh, that's
Hart,
fun,
and
yeah.
he won a Tony for that, which
That's
I think
great.
is really impressive
Yeah.
and cool. And we bought tickets to go see Stephen Lynch after not knowing that really what he was doing. We went there. The stage was acoustic guitar, stand-up bass, mandolin, and he had 4 people in his band, including a second singer, this woman who is a country singer, is amazing.
Courtney
Yeah.
J.
And it was one of, if not the best, one of the best, like, produced comedy thing, like not just stand-up, but like a thing that's like, there's a lot of production in this. And it was like A+, incredible. The performances
It was amazing.
It was
That's great.
incredible. And like, it was kind of like, you want to go see Stephen Lynch? Like, I
Right,
don't know.
right,
Who
yeah.
knows? What? And I was like, this, I can't believe he
Yeah.
is this talented, you know? But that's all. I just wanted to say that last one because it was
Yeah,
kind of
oh,
the
for
opposite
sure,
of the
for
missed
sure.
opportunity.
Oh, and the last thing I'll say is, speaking of like wanting to see that classic rock thing,
Yes.
closest I ever came was Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Oh,
I love
yeah.
this.
In the round.
I love it.
I'm not even going to get into the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, like, I was opening for Lynyrd Skynyrd, not in attendance as a audience member.
This is a great story.
I had the opportunity to stay and watch the show. I decided to leave immediately after my set.
Yep.
It was ridiculous.
because you were not happy though, right?
Yeah, I was more just bewildered by everything, and it was bizarre. We'll get into it in another
Yeah,
episode.
someday you'll tell that story.
Yeah, that's my
2 threats.
That's 2 bad shows that I'm going to do stories
Yeah.
about. But yeah, we'll get to that for sure. This episode has a lovely sponsor, and it is a time once again where I get to gift something to the 2 of you.
I like
Isn't
receiving
that exciting?
things.
You
I
guys,
like it.
you guys got something before we even started recording.
We did.
That's
We did.
off mic for a later time.
We did. We get a good sniff of Brad's tape.
Good is not the word you should be using. there.
Sniff. Sniff implies a small smell. What's the
Yeah.
opposite of a sniff in terms of like size?
A whiff. For sure.
I wish it was a sniff. It was a whiff.
Well, you know how
This isn't
gasoline,
fun
you can
anymore.
see the vapor lines?
Yeah.
It's like that. You can see the vapors on it. Yeah.
Well, you know that
Get a touch of the
the
vapors.
thing is, just much like gasoline, if you're around it too long, you'll pass out. So Brad had to add his
Yeah.
own smelt.
Yeah. and oddly enough, sometimes you kind of like it. Isn't that weird?
I am who I am.
Yeah.
You hate this. So
I do. I
Sniffing it too much
Yeah.
has ruined lives.
yeah. I'll say this was good in small doses, and
So is the taint.
Yeah, this has not been a small dose. This is classic
That is fair.
Funbearable.
Yeah,
Let's-
yeah. I would say it's a pile-on, but that'll just give
yeah,
you
yeah,
negative imagery about your taint again.
yeah.
So this episode is...
Yes, stop body shaming me.
Yeah. So, we believe in body shaming and naming.
Yes.
No, so this episode is brought to you by a lovely company who I believe saw an episode where we talked about my favorite pen I've ever used.
Yes.
By Studio Neat.
Yes.
And their pen is wonderful. And I showed it to you guys, and I bragged about this wonderful pen. And another company saw this and said, "Hey, we make great pens too." And they sent
You
a
held
couple
me down
of
and drew a
pens.
swastika on my forehead.
Yeah.
Like Inglourious Bastards.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is what we want in the plug. Again. This happened the last time I tried to do pens, and it turned into a whole thing. So this is the last time we're doing pens. You hear me, pen companies?
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Rind, R-I-I-N-D,
Ooh, okay.
reached out, and they let me know that they wanted to show that they have quality pens, right?
Killer.
So they sent I said, send me 2 pens, because I have 2 penless boys that need pens. And this is true. I'm not even getting a pen for this.
Wow.
Whoa.
So Rind, thank you very much for sending these along. I took them out of the packaging. I looked at them. I thought about not even doing the sponsorship and just keeping them. But here we are.
Yes.
You could do you could write with both hands at the same time.
Anybody want to grab that as a GIF? Go right ahead.
I can't remember the word.
For Brad, we've got
Ambidextrous.
this wonderful pen here from Rind.
Yep.
This is titanium.
I like that.
Okay.
Okay.
And I want you to have that.
Thank you.
Now, take a look at it.
Okay.
How do you operate it? Oh, it's a twist.
It's a twist.
I like
Look at
that
that.
pen.
Beautiful little twist. He's going to write with it. And then for Charles, we have a different pen. This pen seems more Charles to me,
Okay.
and I want you to enjoy it. This one is for a man on the go, shooting stuff and having to jot things down. Wha-bam. This is also a Rind pen.
Ooh, I like this guy.
Yeah, it's got a cool clippy that will never give up, and it's a twisty as well.
Smooth.
Twist from the top. There you go. Yeah.
Smooth work.
Can I have my
Here you go.
blues? No, I got the blue.
Look at how smooth this is.
It's just one of those days.
That is a nice. That is a nice.
You like
pen.
it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to you and Ryan.
Yeah.
I'd,
So Rind is really wonderful.
Yes.
They're machined pens. They are made by hand, I believe, at Rind. They're really, really wonderful. Great company. I really do appreciate them. Thank you. You are in the running for best pen I've ever used.
It's a good pen.
It's a really good pen.
Good weight and a smooth write.
I mean, my personal favorite will always be that Studio Neat.
Yep.
Nothing has topped it for me, but these are really fantastic. And I do like that twist action. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's great. These are awesome. I love it.
Say it into the microphone. You're under the mic and you're just drawing.
I'm drawing a picture of Brad with his taint dragging behind him. It's
On a Post-it? How many Post-its do you need?
I drew it real small.
Oh, okay.
See, you can take a peek at it.
Yeah, I see that. I like that. It's good. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Touch it.
No, I'm fine.
Smell it.
No, I don't want to.
Very nice pen. Help
Yeah.
me do that.
Thank you, Rind, RIIND.com. They're really wonderful. And I will say, as someone who has now been using a nice pen, I can't believe it. Like, it's genuinely something I really, really like. On my desk, I have that Studio Neat pen.
I know, me too.
And it lives there, and I enjoy using it. And I hope you guys enjoy yours as well.
Thank you very much.
I love it. Do you ever have the experience where you have to go write something and you can't find a pen you like, and you're like, and you write with a dumb pen?
Oh, yeah.
It's so annoying.
Oh, ugh, yucca.
Yuck is right.
Yeah.
Well, folks out there, thank you all so much for sticking around with us this episode. Always happy to hear from you. Funbearablepod@gmail.com, or find the email link through funbearablepod.com, or hit us up on socials. I don't know what I said.
That's okay.
All right.
Oh,
Oh,
hang on. My phone's ringing.
oh boy.
Hello?
It's Brad's taint.
Yeah. Oh, God. All right. I'll let them know, I guess.
Yeah.
I I had to.
I was going to ask if you were going to hang up.
Well, there was an opportunity for people to see Limp Bizkit live. Fred Durst has passed away. Oh wait, I just realized this is from like one of our first episodes.
It is from like episode.
I completely forgot.
Yep.
Yeah, Fred Durst, he passed away.
What happened?
I don't have a funny thing because I was just going to do that part, and then I realized, oh wait, we did this before.
Yep.
But we always had fun little puns for it and stuff like that. Well,
Why are they having a funeral, or do you want to tell us the wake stuff?
yeah. I heard there's an argument about who's going to do the eulogy. Is it a he said? Is it a she said?
You know, just everybody in together.
Do you think he's gonna? Do you think he's gonna end up in heaven? I mean, you gotta have faith.
Yeah.
All right.
Rearranged.
Just feels
Woodstock.
you think you're special. Folks, I don't know what I'm talking about right now. But we're delighted that you were here. Thank you to Ryan for the pens. Thank you to Ray for coordinating the pen.
Are you okay?
I'm not.
I'll be honest with you. I've been getting more and more like lightheaded over this episode. I'm not even
You
kidding.
think we're dealing with like a gas leak?
They're really
It's possible.
genuinely
I'd
could
love to go outside for 3 minutes. That's why I'm trying to end the episode. Thank you all so much for sticking around with us. For Ray Harrington and Chuck Staten, I'm Brad Rohr saying thank you so much, and we're sorry for being Funbearable.
Oh, it's finally happening. He's going. He's going. This is what happens at the end of every episode.
Yes.
He deflates. He deflates.
Yeah.
I wish my brain was working because I so badly want to get another phone call about somebody who just passed away. But my brain won't work fast enough to actually do it. Yep. And it kills me. What can you do? This isn't the end.
It happened in threes?
Don't let this happen.
I was like, what band was Buckethead in?
He was just Buckethead.
Yeah, I thought it was in like Seven Dust or Slipknot or
hang on.
something.
Sorry,
What
my
else
phone
he's
just
gonna
Oh,
rang.
all right.
Hello?
Is the thing
Oh,
on
that's good to
silent?
know. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. I'll let them know. Goodbye.
Love you. Bye.
That was Fred Durst's people again.
no.
He still passed away.
Oh, still dead.
And they said during the wake, because you had asked about that, I think they heard that the buffet, it's just going to be buffet style for the food at the wake.
Okay.
They don't want to do individual plates. They're just going to put it all out and say, come and get it.
Right.
Yeah. That wasn't worth it.
A lot of work.
Oh, hold on. Hello. All right. The bit died.